In this video, we're going to discuss how to evaluate the derivative of a cosine function. The derivative of a cosine function is just simply negative sine x. Okay, so let's say we have cosine x. The derivative of cosine x is negative sine x. A more intuitive way of looking at it is the derivative of cosine x is equal to negative sine x times the derivative of x, or in other words, the derivative of cosine whatever, okay, whatever is in the cosine bracket, is equal to negative sine whatever was in this cosine bracket times the derivative of whatever was in the bracket here. So let's demonstrate that with an example. So let's say you're given a function h at x. And h at x equals cos 3x. What is the derivative of h at x? So we can write it like so. H prime at x is equal to, and then we would just follow this format here. So what we would write is negative sine something, right? So it's going to be negative sine blank. What is blank? Well, that's this term right here, okay? And so we would write that in here. So it would be 3x times the derivative of blank, so the derivative of whatever is in here, okay, times the derivative of this term here, 3x. And what is the derivative of 3x? Well, that would be just 3. So if we were to clean this up a little bit, we can write it as negative 3 sine 3x. And that's it. So let's do one more example here. And for this example, I'm assuming you're pretty good with the power rule. If you're not very comfortable with the power rule, I've made a video about it, and I'll link it here in this video. But we're going to do an example here that uses the power rule. So let's say we have a function, let's call it f at t, is equal to cos root t. How would we evaluate this function? How would we evaluate the derivative of this function? So again, we're just using the same rules, the same steps here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go f prime at t, okay, the derivative of this function is going to be equal to negative sine, and also before we continue, I want to point something out too, and that is you can also write this function as cos t to the power of 1 over 2. Okay, that'll be important for this example. But anyway, continuing on, so negative sine whatever this is, okay, and in this case it's t to the power of 1 over 2. So negative sine t to the power of 1 over 2 times the derivative, okay, times d blank, okay, times the derivative of t to the 1 over 2. What is the derivative of t to the 1 over 2? Well, we know this from our power rule. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 over 2 and multiply it by t, and then we're going to take this exponent and subtract 1 from it. So 1 over 2 minus 1, and that'll give us negative 1 over 2. All right? Of course, we can just leave the answer like that, but it's better if we simplify things a little bit. So we will go ahead and do that. So we'll come down here, okay, and we'll write this as negative, so negative sine, and then we can change this to root t times 1 over 2. And remember that anything to the negative power is just 1 over that. So it'll be 1 over t to the 1 over 2. And if we're to simplify that even more, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this term out in front here and write it first. So negative 1 over 2, and t to the 1 over 2 is just the same thing as root t, the square root of t, times sine root t. And then I can go on and write this like such. So sine root t over 2 root t. And there you have it. So that is that is the derivative of cos root t. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how to evaluate the derivative of a tan function.